Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back, way back, almost 4,500 years, to a place where the sun reigned supreme and the rhythm of life was dictated by its rise and fall. We're drifting into the sandy plains of ancient Egypt, a land of colossal pyramids, intricate hieroglyphs, and surprisingly, some rather soothing bedtime routines. Imagine yourself there, just as the searing desert heat begins to soften into a balmy evening. You've spent the day, perhaps, toiling in a field of emmer wheat, or maybe you've been bartering for papyrus reeds in a bustling market. The air, thick with the scent of dust and, perhaps, the faintest hint of something exotic like frankincense, is finally cooling. You might be a humble farmer, or maybe a skilled artisan, but one thing is certain. At the end of a long, sun-drenched day, you, like everyone else, are ready for the embrace of sleep. Now, you probably won't survive the dysentery, the lack of modern dentistry, or the occasional rogue crocodile if you actually went back in time, but tonight, we're just visiting the peaceful parts. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And feel free to let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're walking through a narrow, unpaved street in a village, the last rays of the sun painting the mud brick houses in shades of orange and pink. The sounds of daily life are winding down, the distant bleating of a goat, the murmur of voices from an open doorway, perhaps the rhythmic clang of a metalworker finishing his day. Unlike our always-on world, ancient Egypt truly shut down with the sun. There were no electric lights, no glowing screens to keep you tethered to the waking world. When dusk fell, it fell with a totality we rarely experience today, plunging the land into a darkness punctuated only by the moon and stars, or the flicker of an oil lamp. This wasn't just a lack of technology, it was a fundamental aspect of their existence, shaping their very perception of time and rest. Historians still argue whether the ancient Egyptians truly understood the concept of leisure in the way we do, or if rest was simply an essential component of their productive cycle. But what is undeniable is their profound respect for the restorative power of slumber. They saw sleep not just as a physical necessity, but as a liminal state, a journey into another realm where gods communicated and the boundaries between life and death blurred. This cultural reverence for sleep, rooted in their cosmology, meant that preparing for it was a deliberate and often ritualistic process, far more considered than simply flopping onto your mattress after scrolling through TikTok. Imagine the utter stillness of the night. A silence so profound it would almost hum in your ears, broken only by the chirping of crickets or the rustle of the wind. This quiet allowed for an internal landscape to flourish, a space for dreams and reflections that our modern, noisy lives often drown out. It's hard to imagine that kind of sensory deprivation, isn't it? No traffic, no sirens, no constant notification pings. Just the vast, silent canvas of the night sky, urging you to close your eyes and let go. And for most Egyptians, letting go meant sinking into a truly profound darkness, one that would make even the most dedicated blackout curtain enthusiast jealous. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the western desert in fiery hues, the ancient Egyptians didn't just stop working, they actively transitioned into evening. Their lives were meticulously calibrated to the solar cycle, far more so than ours. You see, the absence of widespread artificial light meant that the day's schedule was rigid. Work began at sunrise, peaked in intensity during the midday heat when many would seek shade for a brief respite, and then gradually wound down as the light began to fade. This wasn't just about efficiency, it was a deep understanding of their environment. Think about it. Trying to weave intricate linen or sculpt a detailed relief by the flickering glow of a single oil lamp is a recipe for eye strain and frustration. So, when the light dwindled, so too did the more demanding tasks. The daily rhythms were not simply dictated by necessity, but also by belief. The sun god Ra, after his journey across the sky, was believed to descend into the underworld each evening, embarking on a perilous journey through the Duat. This cosmic drama mirrored their own daily descent into unconsciousness, making the transition from day to night a profound, almost spiritual event. You weren't just going to bed. You were, in a symbolic sense, following Ra on his nightly voyage. This spiritual overlay gave the winding down of the day a calming, almost reverent quality. Imagine the feeling of your body naturally adjusting to the diminishing light, your eyes no longer straining, your muscles relaxing after hours under the relentless Egyptian sun. No artificial blue light to disrupt your melatonin production here, just the pure, unadulterated freedom of natural light. It's almost quaint, isn't it? Our modern struggle with sleep often involves fighting our natural circadian rhythm, whereas for the Egyptians, they simply lived it. Dinner, typically the last meal of the day, would have been eaten at twilight setting. This wasn't a lavish, drawn-out affair for most common folk. It was usually a simple meal, bread, beer, or staple drink, more like a thin gruel in our modern meal, perhaps some vegetables or lemons. Meat was a luxury, reserved for special occasions or the wealthy elite. After the meal, families would gather, perhaps sharing stories or performing simple, calming activities. There were no Netflix binges, no endless social media scrolls. The quiet of the evening encouraged a different kind of interaction, one that fostered connection and calm. Historians still argue whether formalized family time, as we understand it, existed in ancient Egypt, or if daily life was simply so communal that such distinctions were unnecessary. Regardless, the shared experience of winding down together would have been inherently soothing. The preparation for rest was integrated into the end of the day's chores. You might finish grinding grain, tidy your tools, or perhaps clean the cooking pots. These repetitive, low-stress tasks would have served as a gentle mental off-ramp from the day's demands. Think of it as their version of doing the dishes or tidying up before bed. Small, predictable actions that signal the day is ending. And speaking of predictable actions, their hygiene rituals, while perhaps not what we consider luxurious, were a crucial part of unwinding. A quick wash in a basin of water, perhaps with some natron, a natural salt used for cleaning, to remove the day's grime, would have been a refreshing end to a hot day. No long, hot showers, no elaborate skincare routines, just simple, practical cleansing that would have left you feeling cooler and cleaner, ready for sleep. It's a testament to how adaptable humans are, isn't it? We crave comfort, but comfort looks very different depending on the era. And for the ancient Egyptians, true comfort at the end of the day was the promise of cool darkness and undisturbed rest. Once the sun had fully set and the preliminary winding down rituals were complete, your focus would naturally shift to the homes and sleeping arrangements themselves. Unlike the multi-room, intricately furnished houses we inhabit today, the typical ancient Egyptian dwelling, especially for the common person, was a far simpler affair. Imagine stepping into a modest mud-brick house, perhaps just 2 or 3 small rooms, built to withstand the intense heat of the day. The walls would be thick, offering insulation, and the roof, often flat, might even be used for sleeping during the hottest nights. Furnishings were sparse and practical. You wouldn't find plush sofas or elaborate dining tables. Instead, you'd encounter woven mats, a few clay pots, and perhaps a small wooden chest. The centerpiece, or rather, the main event, for sleep was often a bed. But not just any bed. Forget your memory foam mattress and adjustable frames. Ancient Egyptian beds were typically simple wooden frames, often low to the ground. The more basic versions might have a woven mat stretched across the frame, providing a firm, breathable surface. For a touch more comfort, you might add a linen sheet or a simple blanket, especially during the cooler desert nights. Now, here's where it gets interesting: the ancient Egyptian pillow. You're probably picturing something soft and feathery, right? Wrong. Their pillows were often headrests made of wood, alabaster, or even ivory. These were essentially curved stands designed to support your neck and head, keeping your face elevated and allowing air to circulate. Sounds rather uncomfortable, doesn't it? Almost like trying to sleep with a book under your neck. But surprisingly, for people accustomed to them, they offered not just support but also protection. They kept your face off the potentially dusty ground, away from insects like scorpions, a very real concern in ancient Egypt, and helped maintain air circulation, which was crucial for comfort in a warm climate. Historians still argue whether the primary purpose of these headrests was comfort, pest control, or preserving elaborate hairstyles while sleeping. Whatever the reason, you gently position your head on this surprisingly practical, albeit rigid, contraption. The layout of these humble homes also contributed to a sense of calm and contained space. Rooms were often designed to maximize shade and minimize direct sunlight, creating cool, dim interiors ideal for rest. The central courtyard, if present, would often be open to the sky, allowing for breezes to flow through the house in the evening. There was a natural flow to their living spaces, a simplicity that perhaps fostered a less cluttered mind. You weren't surrounded by endless distractions or mountains of possessions. Your world was contained, practical, and in many ways, quite tranquil. It's a stark contrast to our modern obsession with maximizing square footage and filling every corner with stuff. Imagine the mental quietude that comes from having only what you truly need. No overflowing closets, no sprawling electronics. Just the essentials, and the vast, quiet desert night outside. It makes you wonder if our overabundance of material goods secretly contributes to our restlessness, doesn't it? The sleeping arrangements weren't always private affairs either. For larger families, multiple people might share a single room, or even sleep on the roof when it was particularly hot, seeking the cool night air. The sounds of family breathing, the gentle rustle of linen, the occasional shift on a mat. These would have been the ambient noises accompanying your journey to slumber. There was a communal rhythm to their rest, a shared experience of the night. It wasn't about individual isolation, but a collective unwinding. And let's be honest, it would be difficult to have a truly private thought with your entire extended family sleeping within earshot. This communal aspect probably contributed to a sense of security, too. No need for complicated alarm systems when you have half a dozen family members sleeping nearby, each one a potential early warning system against nocturnal disturbances, or perhaps against your own snoring. With the sun truly gone and the basic sleeping arrangements noted, your attention would then turn to the final preparations for evening quiet. This wasn't a sudden flick of a switch, but a gradual winding down, a series of domestic chores that eased the household into the tranquil embrace of night. Imagine the soft rustle of straw as sleeping mats are unrolled, or the gentle clinking of a clay pot as it's set aside. These weren't tasks of great effort, but rather acts of settling, of putting the day's tools to rest. One of the primary chores, especially after a simple evening meal, would have been tidying the living space. While ancient Egyptian homes were far less cluttered than ours, maintaining a clean environment was still important. This might involve sweeping the packed earth floor with a simple broom made of bundled reeds, collecting any stray food scraps, or putting away cooking implements. There was no extensive dishwashing, as many meals were eaten directly from common bowls or even on bread, but pots and grinders would be cleaned and stored. This act of bringing order to the immediate surroundings would have been profoundly calming. A tidy space often leads to a tidy mind, even thousands of years ago. You weren't leaving a pile of clothes on the floor or a sink full of dirty dishes to greet you in the morning. Everything had its place, ready for the dawn. Another essential element was managing the light source. As natural light faded, the household would rely on oil lamps. These were typically small, simple clay vessels filled with animal fat or vegetable oil, with a flax wick. The light they cast was soft, flickered, and remarkably dim compared to even a single modern light bulb. You wouldn't be reading a book by this light, nor would you be performing intricate crafts. Instead, the lamp's glow was enough for conversation, for gathering the family, or for a moment of quiet reflection. As bedtime approached, these lamps would be extinguished, one by one, plunging the home into near total darkness. The act of extinguishing the flame was a deliberate signal, a final farewell to the active day, ushering in the deep peace of the night. It's almost a ceremonial act, isn't it? Dousing the light, severing that last tether to the waking world. Consider also the preparation of water for the morning. Water was precious, and fetching it from the Nile or a nearby well was a daily chore. In the evening, fresh water might be drawn and stored in large jars, ready for the morning's ablutions and cooking. This forward thinking, ensuring the household's needs for the coming day were met, allowed for a complete relaxation at night. There was no lingering worry about what needed to be done first thing in the morning. A simple act of preparation ensured a smooth start. This kind of thoughtful planning, anticipating the future by taking care of small tasks in the present, is incredibly conducive to peaceful sleep. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians practiced formal evening prayer before bed, or if their religious devotion was more integrated into daily actions and thoughts. Regardless, a sense of spiritual peace often accompanied their physical preparations. Finally, the settling of animals would be part of the evening routine for many households. If you had a goat, a few chickens, or even a cherished cat, ensuring they were safely secured for the night would be a final small task. The quiet murmurs of these animals, the rustle of straw in their pens, would add to the gentle ambient sounds of the evening. It's a reminder that their lives were deeply intertwined with the natural world, a connection that we, with our insulated homes and urban environments, often lose. The absence of jarring noises, the prevalence of soft, natural sounds, the wind, distant animal calls, the gentle breathing of family, would have created an acoustic landscape uniquely suited for promoting calm and easing into deep, restorative sleep. No blaring televisions, no distant sirens, just the quiet hum of existence. It sounds quite idyllic, doesn't it? A world where the loudest thing you'd hear before drifting off was perhaps your neighbor's goat chewing contentedly. Having tidied the home and beginning to like us, your thoughts would then, quite naturally, turn to food and drink before bed. Now, forget your late-night pizza cravings or that final cup of coffee. Ancient Egyptian evening meals were designed for digestion and, crucially, for promoting a restful night. The concept of a heavy, indigestible supper was largely alien to them, not just due to necessity, but also practicality. No one wants to wake up with indigestion when you've got a long day of farming or building a tent. The staple of almost every Egyptian meal was bread. This wasn't the soft, airy loaf you might pick up in a modern bakery. It was a dense, often coarse bread made from emerald packed with fiber. Eaten with some regularity throughout the day, the evening portion would be a simple, filling way to satisfy hunger without overtaxing the digestive system. You might break off a piece, perhaps dip it in a little olive oil if you were fortunate, or simply chew it slowly, savoring its earthy flavor. It's a far cry from our sugary, processed snacks, which, let's be honest, probably do more to keep us awake than help us sleep. Accompanying the bread, and just as vital, was beer. Now, pause your mental image of a frosty pint. Ancient Egyptian beer was a thick, nutritious concoction, more like a fermented porridge than a clear alcoholic beverage. It was a primary source of calories, vitamins, and hydration, even for children. Served warm or at room temperature, this beer would have been gently filling and, due to its low alcohol content, wouldn't have caused the kind of restless sleep associated with modern alcoholic drinks. It was a comforting, slightly sweet liquid that would help settle the stomach and provide sustained energy throughout the night. Think of it as their equivalent of a warm milk, but far more substantial. Historians still argue whether the primary intention of this daily beer consumption was nutritional, ritualistic, or simply a safe source of hydration in a world without purified water. Beyond bread and beer, the evening meal would often include vegetables and legumes. Onions, garlic, lettuce, lentils, and chickpeas were common. These would be prepared simply, perhaps boiled or eaten raw, offering essential nutrients without being overly rich. For those with access, a small portion of fish from the Nile might be added, providing lean protein. Meat, as we touched upon earlier, was a luxury and not typically consumed as a daily evening meal by the general populace. The focus was on simple, easily digestible foods that provided sustenance without creating digestive distress during the night. Imagine chewing slowly, perhaps by the soft glow of an oil lamp, the quiet sounds of your family around you. There's a deliberate lack of rush, a mindful consumption that's a far cry from our grab-and-go culture. The psychological aspect of this simple meal should also be considered. There was no feast or famine mentality to every dinner. It was a consistent, predictable ritual, and predictability is a great friend to sleep. Your body knew what to expect, and that expectation itself could be inherently calming. There was no decision paralysis about what to cook, no worrying about dietary trends. Just basic, wholesome sustenance. It makes you wonder if our endless choices at the supermarket contribute to our modern anxieties, doesn't it? The Egyptians had fewer choices, perhaps, but certainly less mental clutter before bedtime. And while they didn't have the concept of counting calories, their diet was naturally balanced for their active lifestyles. No elaborate digestive aids or antacids needed when your dinner consists of a hearty bread and a mug of nutritious beer. With bellies gently filled and the last sips of beer consumed, The ancient Egyptian now turned to a different kind of preparation for sleep, the realm of amulets and protective charms. For a people deeply steeped in magic and divine intervention, sleep wasn't just a physical state, it was a vulnerable journey. The night was a time when the boundaries between the living and the dead, the mundane and the supernatural, became thin. Evil spirits, malevolent gods, or even the lingering presence of a deceased ancestor could potentially disturb one's rest or even harm the sleeper. Thus, surrounding oneself with protective magic was as natural as dimming the lights. You wouldn't just lie down and hope for the best, you'd implicitly trust in the power of these small, tangible objects. Think of it less like superstition and more like a deeply ingrained, ritualistic security system. One of the most ubiquitous and enduring symbols of protection was the Eye of Horus, Wedjat Eye. This stylized eye, often crafted from faience, a glazed ceramic, carnelian, or lapis lazuli, was believed to ward off evil and protect against the evil eye. You might wear it as a pendant, or perhaps a small charm would be placed near your bed. Its presence was a constant, silent reassurance that you were shielded from unseen dangers lurking in the darkness. It's their equivalent of checking if the front door is locked, but with a divine twist. Another popular protective charm was the scarab beetle. This humble dung beetle, observed meticulously rolling balls of dung across the ground, became a potent symbol of rebirth and regeneration due to its apparent self-creation from the earth. Scarab amulets, often inscribed with prayers or specific divine names, were worn for good fortune and protection in life, and, importantly, in the transition to the afterlife. Placing a scarab near your headrest or within your bed could be seen as an appeal for safe passage through the night and a peaceful awakening. It's rather endearing, isn't it, that such a common insect could hold such profound spiritual meaning and provide comfort? Beyond specific symbols, a variety of Ankh charms, representing life, and depictions of protective deities like Tauret, the hippopotamus-headed goddess of childbirth and protector of women and children, might be present. Tauret was often shown with swollen breasts and a fierce, yet benevolent, expression, designed to frighten away malevolent forces from vulnerable sleepers. You might find a small statuette of her in the home, or an amulet depicting her image, placed strategically to guard the bedroom. This wasn't about fear, but about proactive spiritual defense, much like how some people might keep a dream catcher near their bed today, hoping to filter out bad dreams. Historians still argue whether the common folk truly understood the intricate theological underpinnings of these deities, or if their use of amulets was more a practical application of readily available magical protection. Even the bed itself could be imbued with protective qualities. Carvings of protective symbols or hieroglyphs might adorn the wooden frame. Some wealthier Egyptians might have beds with legs shaped like lions' paws, lions being symbols of protection. The very act of lying down within this protected space would have reinforced a sense of security, allowing the sleeper to truly relax. The gentle weight of a linen blanket, perhaps, and the cool touch of the headrest, combined with the belief in these powerful charms, would create a holistic cocoon of safety. It's a testament to the human need for reassurance in the face of the unknown, whether that unknown is a dark hallway or the vast, mysterious realm of dreams. You might not have had a nightlight, but you had the Eye of Horus watching over you, which, frankly, sounds a lot cooler. Once protected by your array of amulets, your mind, now gently settling, would begin to drift towards the most enigmatic part of the night, the dream interpretation practices. For the ancient Egyptians, dreams were not mere random firings of the subconscious. They were potent messages, often divine in origin, offering glimpses into the future, warnings, or guidance from gods and ancestors. Far from being dismissed, dreams were meticulously remembered, discussed, and often acted upon. Imagine waking from a particularly vivid dream, perhaps of a lush flood, or a specific animal. Your first instinct wouldn't be to forget it or shrug it off as just a dream. Instead, you'd try to recall every detail. This wasn't a casual hobby, it was a serious endeavor. Dream interpretation was a specialized skill, often practiced by priests or scribes who possessed knowledge of various dream books and omens. These dream books, some of which survive today, were essentially ancient Egyptian guides to symbols, offering interpretations for common dream scenarios. For instance, dreaming of a cat might signify prosperity, while dreaming of a snake could be a warning of danger, depending on the snake's actions. It's like their version of WebMD for your subconscious, but with far more divine intervention. The interpretation wasn't always straightforward. A good dream, like finding a golden ring, might mean good fortune is coming. A bad dream, perhaps of losing teeth, might indicate illness or loss. However, even negative dreams weren't necessarily portents of doom. Sometimes, a bad dream could be turned into a good one through ritual. For example, if you dreamt of something unpleasant, you might recite a special incantation or perform a ritual cleansing to avert the ill omen. This proactive approach to nightmares speaks volumes about their belief in influencing their destiny, even in the dream state. Historians still argue whether these dream interpretations were truly believed as divine messages by all Egyptians, or if they served a more psychological purpose, providing a framework for understanding anxieties and hopes. Beyond the formal interpretation, the very act of remembering and narrating dreams would have been a significant part of the morning routine. Families might share their dreams over breakfast, dissecting symbols and speculating on meanings. This communal aspect would foster a deeper connection between individuals and their spiritual world, making the night a continuation of their waking beliefs. It's a stark contrast to our modern tendency to forget dreams as soon as we wake up, or to view them purely through a psychological lens. For the Egyptians, dreams were a vital, interactive channel to the divine, a nightly broadcast from the cosmic realm. This profound respect for dreams meant that the state of sleep itself was considered sacred. To sleep peacefully was to be open to these divine communications. Disruptions to sleep, therefore, were not just physical annoyances but spiritual blockages. This explains their focus on creating a secure and calm sleeping environment, knowing that an undisturbed night was crucial for receiving these important messages. It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? That your sleep wasn't just about rest, but about actively participating in a spiritual dialogue, where every image, every feeling in your slumber held potential significance. No wonder they put so much effort into making sure their sleep was truly sound. They didn't want to miss a single celestial memo. Imagine the pressure of remembering your dreams perfectly, knowing that the fate of your crop, or perhaps even the Pharaoh's next move, could be revealed to you in your slumber. No pressure at all. Beyond the home, the ancient Egyptians also understood the power of dedicated spaces for rest and recuperation, particularly through their temples as healing sanctuaries. While we might think of temples primarily as places of worship or grand architectural feats, many also served as centers for healing, dream incubation, and profound spiritual rest. These weren't just places for physical ailments, they were sanctuaries for the weary soul, offering a different kind of peaceful slumber. Imagine yourself, perhaps, feeling unwell, or simply burdened by the stresses of daily life. Maybe that emmer wheat harvest was particularly tough, or your favorite papyrus boat sprang a leak. Instead of a modern hospital, you might seek refuge within the sacred precincts of a temple dedicated to a healing deity like Serapis, or even Imhotep, the deified architect and physician. These temples were not bustling clinics. They were calm, often dimly lit spaces designed to promote tranquility. The air would be filled with the subtle scent of incense, the soft murmur of priestly chants, and the gentle echoes of timeless rituals. It's like entering a spiritual spa, but with a lot more reverence and perhaps a few more mummified cats. A key practice within these healing temples was dream incubation. This wasn't just about interpreting random dreams, but actively seeking them. Individuals would come to the temple, perform purification rituals, offer prayers, and then lie down within designated sacred areas, often in a special sleeping chamber or a quiet corner of a courtyard. The expectation was that during their temple-induced slumber, the deity would appear to them in a dream, offering a diagnosis, a cure, or divine guidance. This was a direct line to the divine, a way to solicit personal intervention for one's well-being. The dreams received here were considered particularly potent and authentic, far more so than spontaneous dreams at home. Historians still argue about the exact methods used to induce these dreams, with some suggesting fasting or specific rituals played a role, while others point to the sheer power of suggestion and the calming temple environment. The atmosphere itself was a powerful healer. The regularity of temple rituals, the soothing repetition of prayers, the presence of sacred symbols, and the collective belief in the deity's power would create a profound sense of peace and security. You would be surrounded by priests who understood the nuances of the soul and the body, offering not just spiritual comfort but also practical advice. The consistent rhythm of temple life, removed from the demands of the outside world, would naturally slow your own internal pace, making it easier to drift into a deep, restorative sleep. It's a concept that modern wellness retreats are still trying to replicate, isn't it? The idea that a specific environment, free from external stressors, can be inherently therapeutic for mind and body. Beyond dream incubation, temples offered various forms of holistic healing. This might involve the application of herbal remedies by priests, ritualistic cleansing, or even simply quiet contemplation. The act of seeking healing within a sacred space meant surrendering your anxieties to a higher power, a profound release that could itself be incredibly conducive to restful sleep. You weren't just receiving a cure, you were participating in a spiritual journey back to wholeness. So, next time you're struggling to sleep, maybe skip the melatonin and imagine yourself in a quiet Egyptian temple, surrounded by ancient wisdom and the gentle hum of sacred silence. Just try not to mistake a passing priest for a giant, benevolent hippopotamus goddess. Even with the best intentions and the most protective amulets, sometimes sleep just wouldn't come. For those moments, the ancient Egyptians turned to a fascinating array of medicinal remedies for sleep, drawing on their deep knowledge of herbs and natural substances. This wasn't about popping a sleeping pill, it was about gentle, plant-based interventions designed to soothe the body and quiet the mind. One of the most frequently mentioned ingredients in ancient Egyptian medical plants, such as the Ebers papyrus, was opium. Yes, you heard that right. Ancient Egyptians were hip to the poppy. Derived from the opium poppy, the Papyrus somnifera, this powerful substance was known for its analgesic and sedative properties. It wasn't consumed recreationally in the way we might think of drug use today, but rather carefully administered as a medicine to alleviate pain and induce sleep. Imagine a soothing draught, perhaps mixed with honey or other herbs, designed to gently lull you into unconsciousness. The doses would have been crucial, of course, as they understood its potency. This use of opium highlights their practical approach to medicine, utilizing what nature provided, even if it was powerful. Beyond opium, a variety of less potent, but still effective, botanicals were employed. Lettuce was surprisingly popular as a sleep aid. The wild lettuce native to Egypt contains lactoferrin, a milky sap with mild sedative properties, sometimes referred to as lettuce opium. It wouldn't knock you out, but it would certainly help to relax you. You might consume it raw, or perhaps a decoction of its leaves would be prepared as a common drink before bed. It sounds rather odd to us now, doesn't it? Just eat your dreams for a good night's sleep. But for them, it was common practice. Other soothing herbs included coriander and cumin, which were not only used in cooking, but also for their purported calming effects. Mixtures might be prepared with these ingredients, perhaps infused in water or beer, to create a gentle soporific. The emphasis was always on encouraging the body's natural inclination towards rest, rather than forcing it with harsh chemicals. Historians still argue about the precise efficacy of some of these ancient remedies, but the systematic way they recorded and shared their knowledge suggests a pragmatic approach to healing. For specific ailments that interfered with sleep, such as headaches or digestive discomfort, targeted remedies would be applied. Honey, a revered substance in ancient Egypt, was often combined with herbs for its soothing properties and as a vehicle for other medicines. Balms and unguents, perhaps infused with fragrant and calming oils, might be massaged onto the temples or applied to specific points of discomfort. These weren't just about the physical effects. The very act of preparing and applying these remedies, often with incantations or prayers, would have a significant psychological impact, creating a sense of being cared for and protected. The absence of modern pharmaceuticals meant that ancient Egyptians relied on observation, tradition, and the bounty of their environment. Their pharmacopoeia was vast, and their understanding of plant properties, while sometimes mixed with magical belief, was remarkably sophisticated for their time. So, next time you're having trouble sleeping, perhaps skip the late-night snack and consider a common couple. Well, maybe not lettuce juice, but you get the idea. The core principle remains. Gentle, natural interventions can be incredibly effective when your body is simply begging for a peaceful surrender to slumber. As you settled into your bed, perhaps having taken a mild herbal remedy, another crucial element for promoting peaceful sleep in ancient Egypt would come into play, the pervasive and comforting role of scent and aromatherapy rituals. For the Egyptians, odors were not just pleasant, they were deeply symbolic, therapeutic, and often believed to have magical properties. The air itself could be part of the healing and relaxing process. Imagine the soft, rich scent of frankincense and myrrh wafting through your home. These resins, imported from distant lands, were precious and deeply revered. They were commonly burned as incense, not just in temples but also in private homes, especially in the evening. The slow, curling smoke would carry their distinctive, earthy, and slightly sweet aromas, believed to purify the air, repel negative energies, and invite a sense of calm and spiritual presence. It's like having a perpetual, ancient air freshener that also warded off bad vibes. You might find a small censer, a pottery bowl on legs, gently smoldering in a corner, its subtle scent slowly permeating the room, signaling peace. Beyond incense, the Egyptians were masters of perfumery and unguents. Fragrant oils and balms, often infused with calming botanicals, were part of daily hygiene and ritual. You might anoint yourself with a small amount of scented oil before bed, perhaps a blend with lotus flower extract, known for its gentle, narcotic scent and association with creation and rebirth. The act of gently massaging these fragrant oils onto your skin would be a sensory experience, a tactile ritual that prepared your body for rest. The coolness of the oil, the soft touch on your skin, combined with the calming aroma, would be profoundly soothing. Historians still argue about the precise recipes for many of these ancient perfumes, but their effectiveness in promoting relaxation is widely accepted. Consider also the presence of fresh flowers. While not a daily luxury for all, the wealthy might have vases filled with fragrant blooms, such as the white lotus or papyrus flowers. The natural, subtle perfumes released by these living plants would contribute to a fresh, tranquil atmosphere, adding a delicate layer to the heavier incense aromas. Imagine the quiet beauty of a lotus, slowly closing its petals as night fell, mirroring your own winding down. Even the process of preparing and storing linen could involve scents. While not explicitly an aromatherapy ritual, clean linen, perhaps stored with dried herbs or scented sachets, would carry a fresh, comforting aroma when brought out for the bed. The subtle, clean scent of your sleeping mat or blanket would contribute to the overall sensory experience of preparing for sleep. It's like climbing into a bed with freshly laundered sheets, but with an added, ancient, herbal touch. The cumulative effect of these various scents, from the purifying smoke of frankincense to the gentle sweetness of lotus oil, would create a multi-sensory environment uniquely conducive to relaxation. Your olfactory senses, deeply connected to memory and emotion, would be gently guided towards a state of tranquility. It wasn't just about masking unpleasant odors, it was about actively crafting an atmosphere that invited slumber, where every breath you took reinforced the promise of peaceful rest. And let's be honest, in a world without modern plumbing and sanitation, a good, strong waft of frankincense was probably a welcome addition to any evening. As the aromatic smoke of incense slowly faded, and the gentle touch of scented oils settled on your skin, the ancient Egyptian night would then truly embrace the sounds that lulled you to sleep. Forget the cacophony of modern urban life. The soundscape of ancient Egypt was remarkably subtle, often dominated by the soft murmurs of nature and the rhythmic sounds of daily life winding down. These weren't just background noises, they were integral components of a sensory environment designed to promote relaxation and deep rest. Imagine the gentle whisper of the Nile River in the distance. For many Egyptians, the lifeblood of their civilization was a constant, soothing presence. The soft lapping of water against the riverbanks, the distant call of a night bird, or the gentle rustle of papyrus reeds in a light breeze would form a natural symphony. This wasn't a static sound, it was alive, dynamic, yet profoundly calming, a timeless rhythm that spoke of continuity and peace. It's like having a natural white noise machine, but infinitely more organic and meaningful. Historians still argue whether specific folk songs or lullabies were universally employed, or if soothing sounds were more naturally integrated into daily life. Within the home, the primary sounds would be those of family. The soft breathing of loved ones sleeping nearby, the occasional rustle as someone shifted on their mat, or the quiet murmur of a parent comforting a child. There was a collective rhythm to their rest, a shared presence that, far from being disruptive, would foster a sense of security and belonging. This communal slumber contrasts sharply with our often isolated sleep environments, where even the slightest sound from another person can be perceived as an annoyance. For them, it was the sound of safety, the reassuring presence of their kin. Beyond the immediate household, certain ambient sounds would also contribute to the evening's tranquility. The distant, almost imperceptible chirp of crickets or other nocturnal insects would add to the natural orchestra. Perhaps the soft sigh of the wind as it swept across the desert, carrying with it the scent of sand and distant vegetation. These were sounds that spoke of the vast open world beyond the mud-brick walls, yet in their regularity, they offered a comforting sense of normalcy. No sudden horns, no loud engines, just the gentle hum of existence. It makes you wonder how much our constant exposure to jarring, artificial noises impacts our ability to truly unwind, doesn't it? And then, there's the distinct possibility of lullabies. While direct evidence of specific ancient Egyptian lullabies is scarce, the universal human need to soothe infants and children suggests their existence. Imagine a mother, gently rocking her child, softly singing a repetitive, melodic tune. Perhaps it spoke of the sun god's journey, or the protective embrace of the goddess, or simply the love of a parent. These would have been sounds of pure comfort, designed to gently guide a child into the land of dreams. Even as an adult, the memory of such a sound, or the simple idea of it, can evoke a profound sense of peace. The human voice, used in a soft, repetitive manner, is one of the oldest and most effective tools for inducing calm. So, as you close your eyes, picture yourself surrounded by these gentle, ancient sounds, the soft lapping of the water, the quiet breathing of family, and perhaps the faint echo of the timeless lullaby, guiding you deeper into sleep. As your journey into ancient Egyptian slumber deepens, it's impossible to separate their understanding of sleep from their profound preoccupations with the afterlife. For the Egyptians, burial and eternal rest were not just about death, they were an extension of life, a continuation of existence, and a form of ultimate permanent sleep. The elaborate preparations for the afterlife directly mirrored their desire for peaceful rest in this life, highlighting a seamless transition between the earthly bed and the eternal tomb. Imagine the immense effort and resources poured into constructing tombs, preparing mummies, and furnishing burial chambers. These weren't just grim necessities, they were acts of devotion, ensuring that the deceased could wake up to a comfortable and prosperous afterlife. The mummification process itself, carefully preserving the body, was akin to ensuring a perfect, undisturbed slumber that would last for eternity, allowing the Ba, soul, and Ka, life force, to return to a recognizable form. It's like putting your body in the most high-tech, super-duper, long-term sleep pod imaginable, complete with all your favorite belongings. The sarcophagus, often intricately decorated and inscribed with protective spells, served as the ultimate bed, a secure resting place for the mummified body. Coffins were sometimes painted with eyes, allowing the deceased to see out into the world, even in their perpetual slumber. This wasn't about being trapped. It was about being perpetually aware and capable of enjoying the offerings and prayers from the living. Think of it as a very, very long nap in a very fancy bedroom. Historians still argue whether the common people genuinely believed in the exact details of these elaborate afterlife scenarios, or if they were more aspirational ideas primarily afforded by the elite. Crucially, the items buried with the deceased, furniture, food, clothing, and even games, were intended to provide comfort and sustenance for their eternal journey. These were the provisions for their eternal sleep, ensuring they lacked for nothing. This concept underscores the ancient Egyptian belief that the needs of the living body, including sleep, were simply transferred to the spiritual realm. A well-prepared tomb was a guarantee of uninterrupted, comfortable rest, a final, perfect slumber undisturbed by the trials of the mortal world. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers, often included passages specifically designed to help the deceased navigate the perils of the underworld and achieve a blessed eternal rest. These incantations were a form of spiritual insurance, ensuring that their final sleep was truly peaceful and that they would successfully join Osiris in the field of reeds, their version of paradise. The very act of laying a loved one to rest was infused with a sense of peace and hope, a final, gentle farewell into a prolonged and sacred slumber. It's a powerful connection, isn't it? That the deepest desire for sleep in this life was ultimately echoed in their grandest preparations for what came after. No restless nights in the afterlife, thank you very much, if they had anything to say about it. They truly saw death not as an end, but as the longest, most important sleep of all. While most Egyptians shared in the simple communal rhythms of sleep, the royal sleeping arrangements offered a fascinating glimpse into a more elaborate, yet still purposeful, approach to rest. For the pharaoh, the living embodiment of a god on earth, sleep was not merely a physical necessity but a sacred state, often imbued with political and divine significance. Their slumber was a reflection of cosmic order, and thus, their resting places were designed to be both magnificent and supremely secure. Imagine yourself stepping into a pharaoh's private chambers within a grand palace. Forget the simple mud-brick house. Here, the walls might be adorned with vibrant paintings of gods, goddesses, and protective symbols, a visual tapestry designed to ward off any malign influences. The air would be thick with the finest imported frankincense and myrrh, perhaps continuously smoldering in elaborate censers, creating an atmosphere of profound serenity and sanctity. These weren't just for pleasant smells, they were active participants in creating a divinely protected environment for the sleeping elite. The pharaoh's bed, unlike the humble wooden headrest of the common folk, would be a work of art and engineering. Often made of carved wood, inlaid with gold, ivory, or precious stones, it would stand on legs fashioned in the shape of powerful animals, like lions or bulls, symbolizing strength and protection. The sleeping surface itself might be stretched leather or a woven mat, but overlaid with layers of fine linen, offering a level of comfort unimaginable to the average Egyptian. Imagine the texture of the finest woven linen, perhaps even embroidered with sacred symbols, against your skin. It's the ancient Egyptian equivalent of a king-sized, adjustable, hypoallergenic mattress, but with far more spiritual significance. Protection for the sleeping pharaoh was paramount. Special spells and prayers would be inscribed on the walls, on amulets placed within the chambers, and even on the royal bedding itself. These weren't just decorative, they were active magical defenses against evil spirits, curses, or any disturbance that might disrupt the divine ruler's rest. The pharaoh's slumber was believed to be vital for the well-being of the entire land. A disturbed pharaoh meant a disturbed cosmos. Thus, every effort was made to ensure their sleep was deep and undisturbed. Historians still argue whether the pharaohs themselves experienced dreams as divine messages, or if their dreams were interpreted by priests to serve political purposes. The pharaoh's private chambers would likely be guarded by trusted eunuchs or loyal servants, ensuring physical security in addition to the magical protections. The stillness of the royal bedchamber would be absolute, broken only by the quiet breathing of the pharaoh, and perhaps the distant murmur of the town's fire. There was a profound sense of isolation in this ultimate luxury, a unique blend of comfort and solitary power. While the common Egyptian found comfort in communal sleeping, the pharaoh's ultimate security lay in their singular, divinely protected rest. It's a fascinating duality, isn't it? The shared rhythms of daily life giving way to the intensely private and sacred ritual of royal slumber. You wouldn't find a pharaoh sharing their headrest with a wandering pet or a noisy sibling. Their sleep was a solitary, yet cosmically significant, affair. From the solitary grandeur of the pharaoh's bedchamber, let's now gently shift our focus to the delightful and sometimes surprisingly similar world of children's bedtime routines in ancient Egypt. While the broader cultural context was undeniably different, the fundamental needs of a child for comfort, security, and gentle guidance into slumber remain universal. Imagine a small ancient Egyptian child, perhaps having spent the day playing with a wooden toy hippopotamus or chasing after a pet cat in the sun-drenched courtyard. As evening approached, their winding down would begin much like the adults, with a softening light, the quieting of the household, and the anticipation of a simple meal. For young children, the evening meal would likely be softer, perhaps a thin gruel or mashed vegetables, easy for tiny tummies to digest. And yes, even children would partake in the diluted, nutritious beer, a vital source of hydration and calories. It's hard to imagine, isn't it, a toddler having a bedtime beer, but for them, it was just another part of the daily diet. The sleeping arrangements for children often involved sharing space with their parents or siblings. A child might have their own small mat on the floor near their parents' bed, or even share a larger sleeping surface. The concept of a separate, private nursery was not common. This close proximity would offer an inherent sense of security, the warmth and presence of family members providing comfort against the vast darkness outside. No monster under the bed here, just a snoring sibling. Perhaps the most universally recognizable bedtime routines would be lullabies. While we don't have many surviving examples of actual Egyptian lullabies, the human impulse to soothe a child to sleep with song is timeless. Imagine a mother or father softly singing a repetitive melody, perhaps a simple tune about the journey of the sun god Ra across the sky, or a protective chant to ward off bad dreams. The gentle rhythm of the voice, the comforting touch of a hand, would be enough to guide even the most restless child into slumber. These lullabies wouldn't just be sounds, they would be infused with love and a sense of protective magic, instilling a feeling of safety in the young sleeper. Historians still argue whether these lullabies were impromptu or part of a shared cultural repertoire, but their existence is a comforting thought. Children might also have their own small protective amulets. A tiny scarab, an eye of Horus charm, or a small figure of the goddess Tara, specifically invoked as a protector of children and pregnant women, might be placed near their sleeping bag or even tied around their wrist. These tangible symbols would offer a child a sense of personal security, a reassuring presence in the mysterious realm of sleep. It's their version of a favorite teddy bear, but with millennia of powerful magical belief behind it. The overall approach to children's sleep was integrated into the broader household rhythm. There were no elaborate bedtime stories from printed books, but perhaps tales shared orally, passed down through generations, preparing the child for the values and beliefs of their society. The consistent routine, the familiar sounds and scents, and the close presence of family would all contribute to a feeling of peace and readiness for sleep. It's a testament to the enduring simplicity of childhood meals, regardless of the era. A warm meal, a safe place, and the gentle comfort of a loving voice. These were, and still are, the foundational elements for a child's peaceful night. As we gently pull back from the intricate tapestry of ancient Egyptian sleep, a final sense of calm settles over us, realizing the enduring echoes of their practices in our own lives. From the soft glow of an oil lamp to the profound stillness of the desert night, their approach to rest was deeply intertwined with their natural world and their rich spiritual beliefs. Imagine, one last time, the sensation of lying on a simple mat, your head cradled by a smooth woody headrest. The air is cool now, perhaps carrying the faint scent of lotus or the lingering whisper of insects from earlier. The sounds are minimal, the distant chirping of crickets, the soft breathing of your family, the gentle, reassuring presence of the unseen world. There are no screens flickering, no notifications pinging, no urgent emails to answer. Just the profound quiet, the vast expanse of the starry sky above, and the deep, contented sigh of a body releasing the day's burdens. This isn't just a historical snapshot, it's a timeless invitation to find calm in simplicity. The ancient Egyptians understood, perhaps more intuitively than we do today, that true rest wasn't just about closing your eyes. It was about a holistic preparation, mind, body, and spirit. They cleaned their homes, they ate simple, digestible meals, they surrounded themselves with protective symbols, and they immersed themselves in sounds and scents designed to soothe. Their temples offered a profound escape, and their remedies, while simple, aimed to harmonize the body with its natural rhythms. This deep respect for the power of slumber, as a gateway to dreams and a preparation for the afterlife, permeated every aspect of their existence. It serves as a gentle reminder that sometimes, the oldest ways are the most profound. Think about it. How much of our modern restlessness comes from resisting these natural rhythms? We fight the dinner life with bright screens, we challenge our digestion with late-night feasts, and we fill our minds with endless information right up until the moment we try to close our eyes. The Egyptians, by contrast, surrendered to the night, embracing it as a natural, restorative force. Their legacy, in its simplicity and profound connection to nature and belief, offers a blueprint for a more peaceful existence, one where sleep isn't a struggle but a welcome, sacred journey. So, as you prepare for your own night's rest, perhaps take a leaf from their ancient papyrus. Dim the lights a little earlier. Choose a simpler, lighter evening. Find a quiet moment to simply be in the stillness. Let go of the day's demands and invite the calm. Allow your body and mind to gently, slowly, surrender to the inevitable, comforting embrace of sleep, just as the ancient Egyptians did, millennia ago.